Hello everyone, and welcome to this Scriptcase video. Today we're going to be looking at a comparison of version 8 and version 9, version 9.4 specifically. 9.4 is the most recent major release of Scriptcase. It came out in July of 2019, and it comes with a lot of new features, new UI components, new programmatic components that I think you're going to find very helpful, very useful. So here we have on the Scriptcase website just kind of a comparison between the two versions here, and grouping by these different categories here. So we have some changes with some API things with WhatsApp and the chat API, Click-to-Tell, Twilio, Plibo, a lot of these APIs that were released in different versions here since 8. And over here, we've got some calendars and charts options here. And we're going to be showing you how to use these and how they work inside of Scriptcase and showing you some demos of them as well. So I'm just kind of scrolling through, showing you these. We're going to look at dashboards today and lots of these features. I'm going to show you all the different database drivers we have. We're going to use an SQLite one today, but we've got lots of different database drivers you can use. And then with grids here, we've got different progress bar and different export options. We're going to be looking at those and group by settings as well. Over here, I've also got another way of displaying these changes here, and this is just kind of a timeline. Let me scroll up here. A Scriptcase timeline of all the changes that have come in the different releases. So this is 9.4, the newest release that we're going to be using today. As you see, we've got a new theme here. We've got some button layouts, different alerts. These are very useful. And as you scroll through these, you can see all these different changes as you scroll back in time. So that's another way to kind of see what these are going to look like here. Now, if you're coming from version 8 and converting to 9, which I'd highly recommend, there is a tutorial here that you can use to convert your applications over. So it's a very quick, very painless operation. All you need to do is you can access the converter in the new system, choose your version, point to the root of that version there, and then choose which projects you want converted over. So there's this tutorial here, and there's also a video that you can use. We have a couple different videos on how to do this. So I hope that you do that if you do upgrade. And let's get started. Let's go over to our Scriptcase development environment and let's start exploring some of these new features so you can see how they work and get a taste for how much they can help you in your development. Okay, so here we are in our Scriptcase 9 development environment. This is the login page, so it's probably a little bit different than you've seen before. Let's go ahead and log in. So I'm going to type in my credentials here. And then we can just click login. And here we are logging in. So this is the first time, there's no projects yet, so we can create a new project. So this is probably a different UI than you're used to, and it shows our version there. So this is a little bit different. Let's go ahead and let's create a project. So when we create that, first we can select from a set of templates. So there's lots of new sample projects, or we could create a blank project. So we've got our delivery tracking project, our CRM project for customer relations, healthcare one, personal finances, e-learning, business intelligence, and samples. We're going to be using the database from samples today. The equipment tracker and just a whole bunch of other systems here that you can use as a template to start building your system. Let's go ahead and select blank here. We can select an icon for our project, and then we can name it. So I'm going to call it demo. We can also put a description in and then some additional information as well. Let's go ahead and click next. I'm not worried about those other options. So here we have all of our languages. So we have a lot of different languages that are supported by Scriptcase and then a char set for those languages as well. We can add as many languages as we want with as many char sets like so. We can choose which one is default and then we can delete them as well. We're going to leave it to English for now and click next. Now here are all the themes, and the one here with the new options there, all the new themes here in Scriptcase 9 and 9.4. So we have a lot of different themes here, and you can kind of see what they look like. These are very modern looking and sleek compared to some of the older systems. So this might be one reason you'd want to upgrade. Let's choose Sweet Coral and Sweet Blue here, and I'm going to make Sweet Blue the default theme. So there's lots of themes here. If I scroll down, some of them you might recognize from older versions, but we're going to go ahead and stick with the newer versions today. So let's go ahead and click next now. And here's all the different database drivers that you saw. These are the ones now supported in 9.4. So lots of different ones here. I'm going to choose SQLite today for that one. We're going to use the samples database, which is an SQLite database saved on our drive. So I just need to put the path in here. Let me copy the path over. And there's no password associated with this. Let me test the connection. Okay, that's successful. And there's some other options here to filter on here if we want to filter this database at all. And then there's also the advanced settings here for decimal separators, persistent connection, just some different database connections if you want. So let's go ahead and click create on this. So we're going to create our project. And this is the end of our project creation, so we can start adding applications if we wanted. So down here at the bottom, we've got some help links, samples, videos, forums, support, documentation, and courses. So there's lots of help there if you want help with something. Now let's go ahead and actually open this project so we can do some batch creation things. So we're going to go up here to open project right here. There's our project now. We can click demo to open our project up. And wait for it to open here. Okay, so we can start creating some applications, but we're going to do something called batch creation. So we need to go up to applications and batch applications. So this can create multiple applications based on whatever tables we want. So these are all the tables in our database. Let's go ahead and find our sales table here. Let me find it here. And just a second. Okay, here's our sales table. Let me check that. There it is. And we can create a form version or a grid version. Let's go ahead and click next. We're going to do both of those. We can choose our type of form. We can name the applications. We're going to choose to edit, so we'll open up for editing and click finish. So it's creating the applications and now they're going to open up here. Okay, so we've got our form and our grid. Let's go ahead and get started with the grid. We'll look at the form in a little bit. Let's go ahead and run this grid just to see what it looks like on initial run. So this is going to be using our new theme, the sweet blue theme, because that is our default theme in this project. Okay, so here is our sweet blue theme with the grid. So this looks much more modern and sleek than you would have seen in an older Scriptcase 8 version application. So we've got different colors here, different buttons, all these things add to it. So let's go back and let's go ahead and look at our other theme, the sweet coral theme. So we're going to go to layout, settings here. And then under themes, just go ahead and change that theme to sweet coral there. So that one's got some more orange type colors there. You can kind of see a preview. Let's go ahead and run this now. Okay, so now we see it changed and it's just as simple as that. You can just switch out the themes as you want and it changes the color scheme a little bit. Now let's show you the grid module. So these are the different parts of the grid application. We've got search, grid, the main grid module, and then search, the detail there. If we click here on the three dots, it's going to take us to a detailed view of that record right there. So that is the detail options there. Then we've also got the summary, which isn't set up because we don't have a group by, but we're going to do that in a bit. And chart, which is also not set up yet until we do a group by. Let's get started with search here. So we've got this grid, that's the main one, that's this main area right here. We're going to make it so it starts on the search. So we can set the initial module here, so when it loads, it first goes to this module. Let's set it to search, and so when we run it this time, it's going to go directly to search here. So this is the advanced search. We can set the criteria for the search, and then put in some options to actually search based on those values. So if I set the region equal to equal, and then set some value there, we can search based on the region. If you wanted to change the settings, we can go to search here, the blue tab, and advanced search. We can select the fields that are on there. So as you can see, we can put the customer name on there and we could take fields off. So if we save that, and there's some other options here. We can go to settings for advanced search, some different settings here for the advanced search. And then we can edit the fields right here. So these are all the fields that we've added. Let's go to region. We can change these just like you would see on a grid application, but this is for the search module. We can make it a select box here. So if we go up here to select for the data type, we can make it a select. That's going to reload. And then we can make the lookup method automatic, so it pulls from the table. Let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like at first. So right now, it's not really going to change anything yet, but there's our region and then our customer name that we added. Now we need to make the lookup type automatic. So it's going to pull the values for region from the table there. So find our sales table. Here, this is just creating an SQL query basically. And there's a key field and a field shown on screen. So the key field is going to be passed through, And the field shown on screen is going to be the one shown. So we're going to do it the region since it's the region. Go ahead and load this. And now we have a big drop down. We could choose unique values out of this if we wanted. We could edit that query however we wanted. And we can search it. And as you can see up there on the top, it's showing you what you searched for there. And there's no records because we haven't finished this query yet. It's not quite set up. So right now it's passing through the ID and trying to search for the region equals that ID value. So now we need to make the key field the region as well. So it searches based on that region. And run this, and this time we should get some values when we search with it. So there's all our values. We could of course edit it to make it unique. I'm not going to do that right now. And there are all our records with the East, North, Central region. And right here, this is dynamic search. We could add values, add search fields here, and search based on them here and add them to our filter. So that's how search works. If we go back to grid module, we can make the grid the initial module again and run that, and it's going to go back to our grid and run that. So there we go, loading our grid module initially. So now let's look at summary and chart. The first thing we need to do is use group by. So we use the blue group by tab here. Let's start with static group by. So this is a static one where the fields are selected automatically and the grid totals and everything are selected automatically, and you just click it and it loads them. So you have some grid totals that load at the bottom and summary totals that will load on the summary page, which will show up. So let's put some fields on here to group by. So we're going to group by product category and region. And we can choose between the x-axis and the y-axis, and that's going to be for the summary. And then we can put some totals on there like quantity sold and cost. I'm going to put those on the grid and then on the summary as well, the profit on the summary. And we've got different functions here. So we could do it by distinct count, minimum, average, different statistical functions to perform on these numerical fields. Then we just name the group by, and we could set a label if we wanted it to be different than the name. Click Save. And there's our settings there. That folder there shows the settings for this static group by. So we can edit the fields on it and edit the field values as well here. Okay, so now we can go ahead and run this application. And now we have a group by automatically set here. It's grouping by region and then product category. And we can scroll through some of these fields here, and we're going to see different product categories and regions here. So it's still beverages here. Let me see if I can find another product besides beverages. Let's go to the end. There we go. So now a different region and a different category underneath that, seafood this time. So there's all our fields for that. We're on the last page here. Let's go ahead and go to summary. So here we have summary by region and category. So product categories on the x-axis here, and then region is on the y-axis, as you can see. Or actually y and x, I switched those. And you can set some, you can export it here. You can set some chart options, so you can choose the chart type that you want, and some different display settings for that. And then if you want to view a chart, just click one of the chart buttons right here on one of the categories here. So this is a chart for profit in the East, North, Central. So that's showing you those products. And then you could do a chart on the total here, which might be a little more useful. So this is the total for products, showing you the profit for each product. So you can kind of see how each one is doing. So that's a static group by. Let's go ahead and let's look at some of the dynamic group by settings that we have. So let's go back to our Scriptcase development environment, and there is our dynamic setting right above the static group by. So this is much like static. We choose the fields we want, we choose the totals we want, but the user can then decide which fields they want to do in any individual group by. So I'll show you this in just a second. Much like before, choose our fields, let's put them on there, and let's run it. Okay, so now we have a group by button right here. We have our static group by already set. And we select group by, and there's our static one. And then on the dynamic tab, we have all fields for our dynamic one. So automatically, they're already put on there. We just need to click apply. But let's take one off and click apply, and now it's grouping based on customer name. And then we can go to summary, and it's going to show us the summary for customer name. So that's not super useful for us, but that's how that works. And you can, of course, chart it like before. Let's go back. And let's edit that group by again. So let's put the Let's put the product on there as well. So it's going to group by customer name and product, so we can see what products each customer brought. Or we can flip it like this, so we can see which customers bought which product. There we go. So that's probably some pretty useful information, and then you could go to summary and see totals on all of that as well. And then we could go back to our static group by, just go back to static here. If there are multiples, we could select it. And then we just click apply, and there we all are all set up and ready to go with our static group by. Now we could export here. So we could export to PDF, Word, Excel, XML, CSV, all those settings. So those settings are set up here in the export option on the grid. We have email, which we'll look at in a little bit. There are all the different export types. If we go to PDF, PDF now has a ton of settings that we can do to allow the user to choose what kind of PDF that they want. We can export with a passport, and then we can choose which settings we want the user to have. We can also choose which modules we want to export, so we can do the summary and the chart, or just the grid, or whichever way we want it to be. Different options for bookmarks and headers, lots of different settings here. If we go back here and then click PDF, you can see where the user can select all those settings for which modules, the color settings, the layout, the orientation, all of that the user can select individually if we allow them to. And then we can select the columns as well as a user. So we could take a column off. Maybe that's not relevant to the report we want to use. And then we could click OK or exit here, depending if we want to export the PDF or not. So that's export, and we have lots of different options. And then we can also send all these exports via email. So we can click here and set up an email API. This is new in Scriptcase 9. Or we could just create a custom one for this application right here and put in all of our SMTP settings or whatever API like Mandrill or Amazon that we want to use there. And so once those are set up, we can set up some default settings, but then also the user can then choose the to address and a message or anything for when that report is emailed. So that's a grid application. Let's go ahead and look at a form application. So let's go ahead and run our form application here. So here it is. So we've got our different fields here, and we can edit the values. We can also quick search, add new, and all those options. So there's all of our fields. We could drag new fields on screen. And then for each of these fields, we could edit them. So we can make the region a select, just like we did on the search for the grid sales. And go to edit fields, and there they all are. We could drag them on and off. We can make them required, not required, read only, etc. Here's some different options for our new select field. So we've got our digital signature here. So this is our signature field that we can do the draw signature. We can clean it and then draw it again if we didn't like it. So that's a new field in Scriptcase 9. We've also got different types of selects. So this is the main type that you'd be used to probably in Scriptcase or any other website. This is select 2. So if I look at this, I've got some more margins between the options, and then I can also search the options in the select. So if you have a longer list, this is really useful. So there's that one there. I can search and find it. And then we've got autocomplete. So we can search for something and it'll complete it automatically, kind of like that. Let me see if I can find it. Not sure it's finding it, but we've also got autocomplete in a select. So it's a select 2, but it's autocomplete. So we search for it, and then it's going to find the one that we started typing right there. And then we've got some different radio and checkbox options here. So this is the old radio style, and this is the new one here. So it looks a little bit nicer, a little bit more modern here. Different colors here, and that's going to change based on your theme. This is the old checkbox system, which is still there and still very much useful. And then now we've got the switch system, which is kind of more mobile friendly and easily switched back and forth on touchscreen devices, and just looks a little bit sleeker and more modern. We've also got the slider here for integer type fields, so we can select a numerical value. So those are some different features for forms that we have. It's very useful, very helpful, so I hope you can use those. Now let's create a chart application and see some of the settings that Scriptcase offers us now. So we go to New Application, and we're going to choose Chart Application right here. And we're going to choose that same table that we chose for the grid and form, the sales table. Let me find it here. Okay, and there is our sales table. There's our query. You can edit that if you want. And it's named already. We can edit the fields. We can choose the labels and choose the data types there if it's different from the database. Choose our theme as well. Let's leave it the sweet blue. And go ahead and create this. Okay, so here it is created. So we've got our dimensions and our metrics. The dimensions are going to be the outsides of the chart, and then the metrics are going to be what we're actually measuring there. So let's go ahead and put some fields on for our dimensions, and I'll show you how this works. So we can measure by date, and then we can quantify the profit there. So that's our metric. And then the date, we can choose what type of date we want. So we can do the full date, or we can do just semester or quarter. Let's choose quarter, so we can measure profit by quarter there. And then we've got our same statistical methods there on the profit, on the metrics. Let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like. So this is just a basic grid. You could get a lot more complicated, and I'm sure you can see some of the different uses for this. So here we are, the profit based on quarter. So quarter 3, we had some negative profit there. We lost some money, but we made money in the other quarters. So this chart kind of shows that. We can choose our type of chart. So we can choose pie chart here as well. If we click this, actually, we can choose each wedge here to pull out. But then under chart types, we can choose different charts. We've got this line chart here. There's some quick buttons. And then here we've got even more chart types here under the chart types button. We've got some different unique gauge charts and others here that might be useful depending on the type of data. So here's a pyramid one, which might not be useful for this use, but you might have a use for this. There's lots of different charts that provide you lots of different options as you are trying to display data. So those are all the different chart types there that you can choose from. And then we can also display a summary, just like we saw on the grid, just a summary of those different metrics there. And then we can also export here. So if we go under export, we've got the same settings that we saw for our grid. This is very similar. And then if we go over here to charts, chart tab, we just need to tell it to export. So it'll allow it to export here. And then we can run this application, and now the export button will show up on our toolbar. So there it is over there on the right. We can move it around if we wanted. But there's all of our different export options and the PDF options here. So this is just like on the grid, except now it's exporting a chart instead of a grid. So that is our grid application. Now that we've got 3 different applications created, let's go ahead and create a menu to put these different applications on. So let's go up here to New Application again. And choose Menu here. We can name it if we want. Let's leave it to Menu. And we could adjust the theme too if we wanted as well. Go ahead and click Create on this. So this is a different UI than you might be used to seeing. Lots of different settings here. We can change the theme. So this is an older looking menu. We could go ahead and change that to something else. So there's a blue one I've clicked here. There's more of a silver one. There's this one here, another blue one, and this one's black and blue. I kind of like this one. Let's go ahead with this one here. We can add individual items here by clicking the addition symbol and then linking it, or we can just import applications in batch. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's click that. There's all of our applications. We can select them all. Click import, and there they are already linked up. So we could adjust the text for that, and we could also put icons there too. So you can move the icon to the left or the right. And then we can also put font awesome icons in here. So if we go to display, icon font awesome, then it's going to put by default this cog right here. You can kind of see that. Let's see if we can find a chart here. So there we go. There's a pie chart icon right there. And then by grid, let's see if we can find another grid type one, maybe a sales one. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any for sales. Maybe we can go with like salesperson. So let's find a person here. Type in person. Okay, here's like a little person. So that's like a salesperson to display that icon next to the sales grid. And we could adjust those labels if we wanted as well. And so when we run this, it will display our menu with our links on it and our little icons there. So there's our icons, and we click on it, and it displays the icon in the tab as well. And it opens up those different tabs for each application on the menu. And we can close those up or open them up as we want. Now let's look at the menu structure of this. So that's the actual body, the main part of the menu. But the menu also can be broken down into a divided up structure here. So let's go over to Layout here, click Menu Structure. And as you can see, there's the main menu items section, and we can drag down a new layer. So let's put it over here on the right. And I messed it up. Let me move it over here, get it on the right here. Put another one on the left later. Then we can click Edit on that. We can name it if we wanted. We can set the width, the alignment, and choose whether or not to display it as well. And then we can choose what to display in there. So first we need to select the type. We can choose a method or a library so that we can execute some code, or we can have a title here, the title of the application, or the date as well. So we could set some options here for the display of that date. Here, those are all different options. We'll leave it blank here. And we can set some other display settings here. We'll look at that in a minute. So let's go ahead and run this, and it should display the date on the right of the menu. So there it is, and it's kind of hard to see because the text is black on black basically. So let's go ahead and edit that, and we can adjust that font color maybe to make it white. So right now it's black. Let me move it up here into something white, so all F's like that. Save those changes, and let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so there it is in white text. Now let's create another menu item here. Let's go ahead and click Edit on that. And this one is just going to be a value, some text. So not the title actually, we want the value option. We select the right one here, and now we can put whatever text we want in here. So I'm just going to put Scriptcase in here. And let's go ahead and make this text white as well, so it's nice and readable. And let's save those changes, and go ahead and run this. Okay, so there's our Scriptcase text over there on the left. Let's make it a little bit bigger to make it stand out. So we can adjust here the font size. Let's make it 24, and let's make it bold as well. That'll make it stand out. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so there it is. Stands out nicely, looks nice and everything. So that looks nice. We can adjust those menu structures. So that's how menus work in Scriptcase. That's very useful. Lots of new settings here. Now we got a few more options that I'm going to show you. Let's do a dashboard application now. So we're going to choose New Application and choose Dashboard. And a dashboard is a way to show multiple applications or multiple indexes in one screen. So choose Dashboard here, name it like we want, just like the other applications, and edit that now. Okay, so a dashboard has these widgets on it, and each widget can be linked to a different application. So there's our main widget by default. We can name the widget, and then we can link it to an application. So if I click there, it's going to show our applications. We're going to choose our grid, and then we can tell it what to do with those links. So we can have it open up in another widget automatically, or just do whatever the default is on the application. We can choose some settings for the toolbar here, and then on the properties, we can make it compact. We can remove the margin. That's a new setting on the application. I'm going to select that, make it look a little bit cleaner, choose whether or not to display the header and all that information there. Now we're going to add another widget here. So choose Add Link Widget, and that's going to be the chart. And let me save that. And so now we've got these, and we can move them around to control where they're displayed within the dashboard. So I'm going to display them side by side, make them nice and wide on the screen. So each one will take up about 50% of the viewport width, like so, and make them nice and tall. So now let's go ahead and run this, and we can see both these applications side by side. And again, a lot of the controls with the UI can be edited here. So there's our chart and there's our grid. We'd probably display that in a little bit larger widget. And then we can also add an index widget as well if we click that. And an index is just a way of displaying just a piece of data. So we choose our database connection here, and then wait for that to load and choose our table name. So we can choose our sales table, choose a metric field. So this is kind of like a chart, but it's just displaying a number. So the metric of cost, and we're going to sum it, and we're going to choose the percentage of difference in cost. And then the period field, so it's going to be measured over the date field, the quarter, just kind of like we saw on our chart. And let's go ahead and run that and see what that looks like. There's lots of different options here. This is just one very basic, simple example of it. So there's the percentage of change from Q3 to Q4, a negative 95% change in cost. If I go over here, here's a demo of a much more complex dashboard here with these different percentages here, and we've got another application here to display regions, kind of like a map type area, and then different indexes there, and then a more complicated chart down here. So this is a fusion chart. It's a little more complicated, allows you much more options. So that's another setting that you have, as well as pivot table and so forth here. Now let's look at another feature called hotkeys. So you probably have used hotkeys before. These are different keystrokes you can use to perform certain actions. So I go over here to the form and click the toolbar. We can choose from a hotkey template here. So right now we have the default one, but we can create a custom one by going to Tools and going to Hotkey Templates right here. And we go under Scriptcase, there's our default one, and under Public we have one set, but we're going to create a new one. So we click New. We can choose the mode and the file name here, so we're going to name it Demo here. And let's go under Form, and then there's ones for Grid, Summary, depending on which application you want. Under Action, we can choose what we want to do with this hotkey. So we can have it cancel here. Let's just choose this as an option and then click there and then type in our key sequence. So do Control X to cancel and then hit save on that. We can choose it as project or public. Let's do public for now. Save that, and then under public there is our demo hotkey template. Let's go back to our form now and select that template. So back under toolbar, choose the demo template. So let me refresh it here, and there is our demo template right there. And so now it's all set up, and if we run this form, we can now use that hotkey. So now let's do a blank application. So now the hotkeys are set up, we can create a blank application. And a blank application is just a place to put some code to be executed. You can really do whatever we want. Let's go ahead and choose our blank application right here. We can name it as we want. Click Create here. And it's going to show us a code editor basically. So like the name suggests, it's completely blank to do whatever we want. And we can change the theme of this code editor. This is a new setting in one of the recent versions of Scriptcase here. So we can change these to whatever code editor you might prefer, whatever color scheme you might like. And we can put in some PHP code. This is just a PHP block. So let me echo out hello world, and that'll display it on screen. Let's go ahead and run this. So there is our hello world text like we would expect. And we could add a little bit of complexity to this by adding an HTML. So let me get rid of this code. And we just need to close up the PHP block here, just like you would close up any PHP block, and then open it back up at the end when we're all done. But let's put hello world in B tags. So this is HTML now. And this could be HTML and JavaScript, just like any HTML page you'd see, and CSS as well. And then just go ahead and open that PHP block up again to continue processing. Let's go ahead and run this. And now hello world shows as bold. So that's a blank application. It really can do a lot of different things. Depending on what you want to do, it's useful for a few different things. Now we're going to create another kind of grid using the same table, but we're going to link them together. I'm going to show you how you can link tables together in the same grid very simply, very easily. So choose grid again here. And we're going to choose our first table. It's going to be the sales table again. So let me find that sales table here. Let me scroll down here. Probably just best to search for it here. That makes it easier. There's our sales table. And let's go ahead and link it to our products table. So I'm going to find the products table as well. So there it is, and check that box as well. So now we're linking based on sales and products, but we just need to link it together. As you can see, it's not finding that link, so we need to define it. So we go over here to relationships, and we can choose how that is related. So when I drag these around, we can kind of display a different graph here. But what we really need to do is click here on the relationship and tell it which fields to link on. So the product is going to be the product ID over in the products table. So it's going to link that way, and click save on that. So now they're linked properly like so. If we go back to application data, you can see it's doing a join there on the sales product equals the product ID on the products table. So it's just doing a join, but it's doing it automatically for you, so you don't need to worry about writing the query. And then click create there, and we could run that and view data from both fields, both tables like that. So that's how you can link different grids together, different tables together. Now that we've got all these applications created, let's go ahead and create a security module. So go to Module Security. You can use a profile or create a new security profile. Choose our type. I'm going to do group security here. Choose the database connection. So choose that one there. Is there only one? We can choose whether to use existing tables or create new ones and delete the ones that already exist. I already have some, but I'm going to leave them in place. Click next on that. It sees them there already, but click OK to use them. So created all those, click close, and this is just defining the tables and fields. Don't need to worry about that. And these are different security settings like prefixing the applications, whether or not to enable it, all the different field settings. And then we can also choose a template for our login screen. So let's tell it to use a template, and then we need to enable the external libraries. There's our samples one there. So click use that and go back to our security module here and reload the dropdown. Let's see here, it's not loading. Oh, we need to actually save that. Go back to external libraries. Now that we've used it, we need to actually save it. That way it'll be saved. We can go back and reload the dropdown. And there we go. Now we have some options. We can choose from all these login templates. Let's choose 3 for now. And click next. Click OK on this. Choose our admin settings there. So admin is the default password. Click next. Tell it to include all the applications inside of the security system. Click next. We can save this as a profile to use later if we wanted. Click generate security, and it's going to generate everything here. And then generate the source code. And this will take just a second, and we'll probably skip ahead here to the end, just so it doesn't take too long on this video. Okay, so our security is all generated. Everything's updated. We have our security folder here. We can click on that. And we have all of our security applications automatically created. Let's go ahead and run our login application to see what that looks like. So as you can see, we have a very nice UI looking login screen here with an image and some text. And we can change that to be something else if we wanted. So let's go to app login here. And here's our external library that we used. We can go here and choose any of these login templates. These come pre-built with your Scriptcase system. Let's choose 4, and that's going to look a little bit different here. So there's that one there. And you could edit those, or you can make your own template. Let's use 2 now and see what that looks like. So that one's got a different image, a little bit different layout there as well. And that, of course, is under the Tools External Libraries right there. And that's where that samples library is. You could create your own library, you could create your own templates, and etc. to make it look however you wanted. So that's some of the differences between Scriptcase 8 and Scriptcase 9, some of the new features. By no means exhaustive. Obviously, there's a lot of new features here. This page is very long just comparing the 2 of them. So I hope that you will go check these out. I hope that you will convert over to Scriptcase 9 now that it's out. And if you need support, you can click the chat option here on the webpage, anywhere on the Scriptcase webpage. You can also go to e-learning and samples and features to learn some more, and then under support some more options there. So I hope that this encourages you to upgrade to the new version of Scriptcase, and you can do a lot with your new updated version of Scriptcase developing tools for your clients.